Hello, everybody. Today is Monday, so you know what time it is. It's time for BeatStars Live. My special guest just got kicked out, so I will be adding him back in. But for those of y'all who are already on, go ahead and let me know where you're coming from. I'm Aaron Knight. I'm the newest member of the MEC, and I'm a proud ATLian any day of the year, but especially today because the Braves are in the World Series. Y'all look at that. You see, that's a that's a flying saucer from Aquemini because I'm an ATLian. And yeah, the Braves are in the World Series. So what's up, y'all? Oh, look, I got my listen. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this, y'all. This is the 1995 vintage shirt from actual 1995, the last time and the first time that we won the World Series as the Braves. I know we're not talking about baseball today, but I'm just hyped to be from Atlanta today. So, again, what's up, y'all? I'm Aaron Knight, the newest member of the MEC. I'm an Atlanta based entrepreneur. I own a management firm and a creative digital agency. I also own a booking agency. So today we are going to be talking to one of my artists who's actually part of my booking agency, and he does label services through my creative agency. His name is nobigdyl. Uh, One of my favorites in the independent game right now, just watching him grow and expand. So I'm a little bit biased, but let me see where some of y'all are from. Let's see, Pittsburgh. Okay, what's up? Um, the Midwest. Okay, that's a very general thing. What is the Midwest? Tell me where. Brockton, Massachusetts. Word. One of my business partners is not from far from there. He's just outside of Boston. So he co-owns the booking agency with us. Let's see. Madison, is that Wisconsin? Madison, Wisconsin. Mississippi, what part? That's where my grandmother was from before she passed. Austin. My other business partner is based in Austin. Okay, Detroit. What's up, Detroit? Philly. Yeah, Philly's outside. I actually have a newfound love and affection for Philly. So shout out to Philly. I've had a lot of recent good career wins there, and there's so many dope humans in the music industry that work in Philly. So shout out to Philly. Tampa, what's good, Tampa? I've been spending a decent amount of time in Florida recently. Jersey. Jersey has a special place in my heart because some of my absolute favorite artists are from there. One being Lauryn Hill, two being Caleb Mitchell, the first hip hop artist I ever managed, and the one who we started the label around. So, what's up, Jersey? Dallas. Okay, we see it. All right. I think Dill's.
Check.
What's up, Dill?
All right, how's this? This better?
Yeah, it's better. It looks clearer, all the whole nine.
All right, I did it from my phone. I don't know what's going
Okay,
on with
bet. I'm
this
glad
thing.
it worked. I just didn't know if it would work from your phone or not. You actually look better
Yeah.
than me. I'm kind of jealous right now.
Okay.
The clarity on the screen.
Just the clarity, just the
Yeah, no,
clarity
I'm
on
not
the
gonna say
camera.
that you look better than me.
Yeah,
That's just my personal opinion. But shout out to you. You're a beautiful black man. I'm proud to see
yeah.
you. I'm glad that you're here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
For sure. So,
Yeah.
everybody, welcome to BeatStars Live, powered by the MEC. Today, we are talking about how to thrive as an independent. If you guys have been tuning into the MEC, you see that I am big on ownership, knowing what you have going on, taking the future and the present by the horns, and doing your own thing. And so, today, we're talking to one of my favorite examples of that, the man, the myth, the legend, the artist, no big deal. So, Dill, if you want to give an intro, where you're from, who you are, everybody's dropping what city they're from. Because I told them I'm in
Okay,
Atlanta. You know
dope.
how much I love Atlanta. And, the Braves are in the World Series right now. So,
Right.
peace up, A-Town down. We're really rocking hard right now. But
Y'all
let
are
them
going
know about who
crazy
you
right now.
are, where you're from, and what you're doing, man.
Yeah. I'm no big deal. I'm an independent artist. Part of the collective indie tribe. Own my own business, multiple businesses. I'm from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, right outside of Nashville. Um, yeah, so here to talk about ownership, about entrepreneurship, um, about controlling your intellectual property.
Indeed. Okay, so just to start it off, for people who don't know you, I like to just do something that makes it a little bit interesting. Tell me just like some of your most exciting career wins, something that if you were an independent artist, well, when you were an independent artist, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, if you had heard yourself telling people about a win, you'd be so stoked to hear that you actually did this. So tell me something that you're like, dang, I actually did this thing, just so people can get excited and see what you really have going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm still amazed that I can like that this is my job, you know what I'm saying? Like I can make music and that's it, and that's my job. One huge milestone that we hit this year is my my wife is going to be able to like quit her job and just be a part of the business. And that's something that's important to us. We want to set up like a family legacy with this. So um, just being able to support, I guess I'm trying to put myself back in that mindset of being an independent artist. I mean, um, we've been able to buy like two houses, two cars off of this, fully support both of us. Like I said, my wife is about to stop working. Um, man, uh, been on the Billboard charts multiple times, top 10 um, on Apple Hip Hop, Spotify debuts. Um, been on tour uh, nationwide, outside of the country a couple times, and yeah, launched a merch company. People were shipping merch to New Zealand and Australia and just all over the world. So I mean, it almost seems like every quarter there's a new win that like I would have never expected. You know what I mean? Like I really had to be pushed out of the nest to even decide to do this full time. So for it to every single year increase, um, as
Talk
far as
about that a
platform,
little bit, about how you
uh,
had to be pushed out of the nest.
right? So I was a intern first at labels, at multiple labels in the Nashville area, and then I was a merchandise manager, and then I was a road manager for other artists. I went to school for music business, um, graduated with an honors degree in music business from MTSU. So my plan was to be on the business side, on the artist team side. Um, and I saw that as a way I could stay close to it because I've always made music, but I saw that as a way that I could stay close to the music. But it was a very, I felt like it was less of a risk to just kind of come out with that degree. I'm already living in the Nashville area, and then just enter into that business side. And so that's what I was doing. And shout out to Derek Miner. That was the last artist that I was uh, working for, and he uh, he would let me and my friends use his studio to just record. I guess he just kind of thought it was like, oh, it's just a hobby that they're doing. Very generous guy. Anybody who knows him, so he just kind of like he even made us another key so we could just use his studio. Um, and he came in one night. I think he left his bag or something. Heard the music that was playing. He's like, "Who is this?" I'm like, "Man, that's me." You know what I'm saying? And he was like, "This is you?" I was like, "Yeah." So he tweeted it out, um, and that was when I first got like my first little real small platform. People started like listening to the SoundCloud, and then one day he sat me down. He was like, "Do you want to be a road manager for the rest of your life, or do you want to be an artist?" And I gave him the whole like, well, in a perfect world, I'd be an artist, but it's so risky. And I'm kind of happy where I'm at. I need something steady. I'm trying to get married, all this stuff. He was like, bet, you're fired. Yeah, I was like, oh man. He said he never knew this is a gem that he gave me at that time. He said he never knew anybody who made it um, in an artistic endeavor that had a safety net. So he was like, I got to cut the
Wow.
safety net. Yeah. He was like, if you have a safety net, you're not for the things that we're trying to do. If you have a safety net, you can't fabricate the hunger of not having a safety net.
It's very true.
You cannot fabricate it. You can tell yourself, okay, I'm gonna have this this safe place to land, but I'm gonna work as hard. I'm gonna have the hunger of somebody who doesn't have a safety net. You can tell yourself that all day long, but you'll never be able to replicate actually not having a safety net or actually having that hunger, you know. So
Yeah, that's real. Okay,
that's
so
a gift he gave to me. Yeah.
so you are an independent artist. You got kicked out of the net, as you said,
Yeah.
out of the nest. How long ago was that? That was about 10 years ago, 8 years ago?
Oh no, that was 6 years ago,
Six
almost
years
6 years
ago.
ago. Yeah.
Okay, so you were making music, but working on the industry side, interning,
Yeah.
you had a degree, then you got a job, and then
Yeah.
6 years ago, kicked out of the nest, and now you're
Well, it
saying,
was at the same time. So I was still in college
mm,
for while I was working that stuff, for a lot of that stuff. And then like 1 year out of college. So
okay.
yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
graduated from school, and since that time, now you're saying you've charted on Billboard multiple times, you've had
Yeah.
major releases on albums, all
Yeah.
of these things. You started your career championing for the indies. You
Yep.
signed a deal for a limited time, and
I
then you
did.
left the label. So let's get into a quick snapshot of that because I just want to give people some context for you so that when we
Okay.
start asking these questions, people have an understanding of who you are and what you've been doing.
Right. Yeah. So okay, say that again. What was the question?
So you left school or finished school, jumped into being an artist, creative, you were figuring it out. You were independent for a stint, then you signed to a label,
Right.
and now you've been back independent. So you've been independent, I would say what, like 5 of the 6 years out of your career. But I just kind of
Something
want
like that.
to tell a little bit of the story, like why you signed with the label, how you got signed, and then what transpired, and then how you are
Right.
here.
Yeah, so yeah, I started out indie. That right after Derek fired me. I mean, I really had no safety net. I wasn't married yet. I needed to buy a ring, find a place to live, all of that. So when he fired me, it was like go time. So in 2015, um, at the end of 2014, and then through 2015, I dropped 3 projects in a row. Um, all mixtapes. I was just like in the studio essentially every day trying to build a platform online. It was right at the end of the blog era, so it was like blogs. That's what we were trying to hit, getting a platform online. Um, and they started catching like fire and momentum, and then took a year to make my first album, Canopy. Um, so 3 projects in 2015, didn't drop anything in 2016. Just really, I mean, I had some personal stuff that I was taking a step back from music just to kind of work on myself and my relationships, but also developing that album. Beginning of 2017, I released my debut album. My bad, that's the computer. I think rebooting. Um,
I
but
can't
yeah.
hear it.
Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. So, February 2017, dropped the album Canopy, independent. Kind of just staffed my weaknesses. So, through kind of having connections, um, from interning, road managing, doing merchandise management, which we could pause to say, like, when you're one of the best things that I learned in college was just be easy to be around. You know what I'm saying? That was a huge thing, a huge benefit for me when I was doing merch management and all of that stuff, interning. I never pushed my music on anybody. I was like, I'm here to be a great intern, or I'm here to be a merchandise manager, or I'm here to whatever. And so I was in my, even in my head, I wasn't just doing those things so that they could hear my music. Like, there are people who never heard my music. Like I was on the bus with Lecrae for 3 months. I never showed him my music, and eventually one of the other people on the tour was like, "Yo, you know he makes music," and Cray was like, I know that was like a big thing to him because he like when he talked to me about it, he was like, you rap and you didn't show me your stuff this whole time you're on the bus with me." And I was like, that's not what I was here to do. You know what I'm saying? All of that to say, when I did release my music, all of the people who I had worked for or with before, they wanted to champion me. Like
Mm.
as soon as they heard it and it was good, they were like, bet. Like this is the dude who was doing merch for me on tour, who was setting up my stage, who was booking my flights, who was sweeping the floor, who was doing, running to go get coffee, and his music is good. That's an
It's a
easy
wrap.
layup for them. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So like, um, so that being said, when I released Canopy in 2017, there were kind of a lot of people I could text to be like, hey, how does this iTunes thing go? How does this Apple thing go? Who should I be emailing? Okay, what blog should I be emailing? Okay, what can we do with Spotify? Um, okay, how do I get an email list going? And a lot of people were willing to kind of plug me with those people because of what I just said. That being said, we got some really good looks on like um, on Apple Music, just as far as like the hero page and all that on Apple Music. And the art can't be understated, understated, or can't be overstated rather. Most of the little bit of money that I had at the time went towards the artwork, um, the mix, the master, and the artwork. Because I mean, I was just starting out. It was a very early. But the thing was, with all kind of with the artists signal boosting it, and then us being able to land that front page of Apple and the little top banner and everything with quality artwork, and people were like, it benefited that nobody had heard of me because people were like, why is this person I've never heard of all over my Twitter timeline and on Apple Music, and the artwork is fire. So it's not like, if the artwork was not good and the same thing happened, okay, it's all over the timeline, okay, it's on Apple, somebody might be like, this dude just had he's a trust fund kid or something, and he was
Yeah.
able to
Industry plan.
industry, you know what I'm saying? But since it was like, right, it was like quality, but it clearly wasn't like sterilized by a label. Like the artwork was clearly like, oh no, this is very creative. Shout out to Kevin Hackett, shout out Anthony Farrell on the photography. Um, but so I think it just interested people, right? Um, and it was top 10 on iTunes hip hop for that day. It was number 9, which we were like, it's crazy. And it was only for a couple of hours, you know what I mean? It was my first release. So it was like, um, after midnight and maybe till like 2 p.m., we were in, it might even have been earlier than that. We were in the top 10, but this is my first release. So I'm like over the moon. Of course, I'm like showing and involving my fans, like, look what y'all did, because like I said, we had an email list, we were really trying to motivate people, like, y'all are part of this. We had, at that time, it was also still like Facebook was still like was still it was in a different stage of social media where it was still used for kind of like what Instagram is used for now. And so I had like all my fans and even friends and family and everything on Facebook changing their display pictures to the
Oh yeah,
album
yeah.
artwork.
That used to be the thing. Yeah,
That
yeah,
used to be the
yeah.
thing, right? So like, so anyway, all that happened, and you know, people were putting on their Instagram stories. It was really cool. It was very, very organic. It's one of the most organic like things that I've seen happen, for an indie artist in my shoes at that time. And then after that, the week after, this was nowhere on our radar, but the week after, a bunch of labels started calling and emailing. No, had no. So a couple things that happened now that I've kind of have some more years in the industry and I can reverse engineer it. This was still like probably like the last super influential time for iTunes,
Mm.
and it was in the top 10 on iTunes. But also, Big Sean dropped, I believe, I Decided that same week.
Oh,
So
wow.
so people are looking at the top 10. It's not just a random top 10. It's Big, and Big Sean is on his socials being like, we got the number one on iTunes, right? He's posting screenshots. And it's like Big Sean, and then like Nicki had dropped like a something like a cup, like maybe a month before. So it was like Big Sean, Nicki, Two Chains, and then in this screenshot that's everywhere. I'm talking about this screenshot was everywhere because Nicki was posting it and Sean was posting it. There's this random dude with good artwork at number 9, and people are like, what is going on? So I think that's why the A&Rs took notice, because of course, like I said, iTunes was still an industry like standard at the time, and it mattered who was in that top 10. And I'm the only, they of course have never heard my name, they've seen this, so they're like, A&Rs are like, yo, we gotta get there before somebody else, right? So it was crazy. It was like Sony 300 was the wildest. Like, was not expecting that. 300, um, Reach Records, Reflection Music Group, uh, there was a couple other ones. But noticeably, Capital was not one of those. Capital was not one of the ones that reached out. Can't remember who else. So Sony, 300, Reach, RMG. I don't know. But
Had so many you can't even keep up. Wow. The
yeah,
flex.
so we were taking all the calls with them. Um, but of course it was like new artist deals, you know what I mean? And kind of just from the beginning, just from what I knew at the time, what I knew from working with other artists, I was like, I don't want to do this, And I was talking to some mentors and stuff, and it's like, man, if they're coming on your first one that you put not a lot of money, I just didn't have a lot of money, not a ton of money into, but you just put a lot of hours and stuff. It's like they're not gonna stop
Right.
as long as the quality, and you like, this is the beginning of your career. As long as your quality remains high and you keep the output like this, they're not going to be like, oh, we're not interested anymore. And you definitely don't want to sign into a bottom tier
Right.
new artist deal. You know what I'm
So let's talk
saying?
about that for a second. So recapturing about you dropped your debut album 2017, you said, right?
Yeah,
So you dropped
February,
it
I
in
believe. Yeah.
2017 and you put the little money that you had into making sure that your photos were fire and then the album artwork was super tight. And then because you played your role and you stayed in your lane, even when you were like interning and doing merch management for people, you were not asking for any handouts or favors. And I can say as somebody who has done the same but would prefer the same be done to me. I've been in the room before and wanted to, like, of course, you're around people, you're like, yeah, I want to show this, that. I'm not an artist, but I always was like, man, I want to pitch an idea. Or when I started working with artists, it's like, man, I want to pitch my artist, but like you stayed low. So then when your music came out, all those people were like, oh, and he's dope. Let me go ahead and support because he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't trying too hard. That push combined with what, like, bless God happened with the Big Sean thing is what got a ton of eyes on you.
Yeah.
And just releasing the music. I think something that a lot of artists like to do, they're like, man, I'm not releasing this music until I get a deal or until somebody's da 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 da. And what I have always seen, same with you, every time that we get label deals and label offers, anything coming to us from bigger entities is after we drop the music and do it right. Because
Mm-hmm.
labels want to see that you know what you're talking about. They don't want to just hear a good song. They want want to see if you can make some buzz, if you can organically get people interested. Labels need us to teach them what's hot. Let's keep it a buck. So if
Keep it a
everybody
buck.
else thinks it's hot after you drop it, then a label now says, oh, it's hot. So
Right.
you made yourself hot, and you got some wisdom that said, hey, it may be a little bit too soon. So what did you do with that?
Sorry, there's some hammering going on. What did I
That's all good.
do?
You're having your house worked on as an independent artist. Like, you're
Hey,
sitting in your studio room in the house that you own, and there's people downstairs working on your basement. I know I'm not weird, y'all. We work together, so I know what's going
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
So you have
No,
people working in your basement, and you're paying for it independently. I feel
that's
like this is
absolutely
part of the
true.
story. I'm not
This
bothered by.
actually, this actually, legitimately was paid for 100% off of features. Like
See, the feature
this
run you
was
just did.
the feature run I just did. Like it's and this is like an expensive project, but it was like, yeah, that's the thing. It's like when you we were just talking about when you take care of the brand from the beginning and you're intentional about it and you don't jump at every opportunity, because the reason that the feature sale worked is because I don't do features. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
It's
right.
because I don't do features, so I've protected that brand, so it's like actually something that's valuable to people. So that's like a principle that started like with those photos and with the artwork and continues in like everything that we do. But you were saying some people said it might be too soon.
Yeah,
Wait,
so
what
you
were
were
you talking
saying
about?
that people were telling you, like, because these are some of these like junior signing deals, which is like
Oh yeah,
sign your future away. We'll give you
right.
16% of it,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, at the time the new artist deal was like, man, it was a long time. I'm trying to remember because I've been through multiple rounds of like kind of opportunities to sign. I think some of them were like 10 years, 8 years,
yep.
um, and just I mean, full master ownership, full publishing ownership, and they didn't try to do like the merch and the shows, which some people do try to do, um, especially at an earlier period, but they just weren't advantageous. And also because I was so new, it there was no creative control, and they were gonna essentially just like build a new artist and a new brand.
Around your name.
Yeah, around my name. Oh, around my name, which they would own too. That was another thing that they were doing at the time. Um, they were they were trademarking artist names so that
Sick.
they own the trademark. So let's say it was I, I don't know how they like worded it so that it didn't seem like this, but for everybody listening, I'm gonna tell y'all what that is. That's just a leverage move. It's a power move. There's no matter how they flip that, for them to trademark your name, that is for them to have another way to keep you in the contract, because now if you leave that contract, you cannot use your name, your artist name. You cannot put out music under your artist name. You would have to come up with a completely different name. And if your artist name is your name, it still applies. Like I legitimately have
Facts.
a friend who that is the situation. They're trying to get it changed, but that's the situation. They're using their name, but it's their artist name, and the label owns the trademark to their name. So they'd have, if they once they get off, they'd have to come up with something else, and then it creates confusion with your fan base and all that. Because
That's
but
why
anyway,
Prince
yes,
had to do the artist formerly known as Prince, because his likeness and his name was owned by the label, and even though he was still releasing music under the label, they got a portion of everything that he did as Prince. So he just had to start going by the artist formerly known as Prince, because everything he wrote, every club appearance, everything, his label was getting a portion of it.
and that's crazy. That's like again, that's not even that's not a fair business practice. There's no way that it makes logical sense. It's literally just a leverage, a power move. So yeah, so they wanted that too. So we were like, you know what? I think we're just gonna keep going because we didn't have any expectations for it in the beginning. You know, I was working a full-time job, that's another key that maybe, you know, I might take for granted or people might take for granted, but um, you know, when you're pursuing it or like being a real artist or whatever looks a lot of different ways, and I think a lot of people think before they've sold a record or had a stream or anything, to be a real artist, it's got to be your only job. And it's like, bro, you either want this to work or not. Like
Right.
you can do all the really romantic, like starving artist things, you know, all the Hollywood
It's
stuff.
only romantic after the fact though, because in it, it's horrible. It's the worst.
Yeah,
It's the worst, and you hate everybody, and everybody hates you.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? Or you can just do whatever like actually works for you. And either way can work. You know, I have friends who they never had a job and they just did music and like you said, they just struggled a lot. Like they really struggle. You know, they're on couches, they're on floors, they're living with family members, whatever, and then eventually they start to make it. Um, for me and my personal journey, it was important for me um to like have my own place, to not be a burden on my family. And I didn't want to do the couch thing. I didn't want to do the floor thing. So I had like and I wanted to get married, and I didn't want to put I didn't want to put my partner through that. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I had a full time job, you know, through that album. And then what I did was the music, um, once the music covered, I think we said 3/4. It was either half or 3/4, but once it replaced one half to 3/4 of what I was making at my full time job, that's when I quit the job because we did believe got to cut the safety net, you know, that whole thing, and we did believe that you have to take risks and jumps. It wasn't going to be like unrealistic, like okay, when this makes twice as much as my full time job, because we were like to grow it, I have to put. I'm not going to be able to put the hours in that it needs to grow. That's not realistic. I can't have a
Right.
full time job and take this music to where it needs to go. But I can kind of get the fire started, see it growing, and then be like, okay, boom, cutting that. Now it's all on this. Now we got to build this fire bigger and bigger.
So
Um,
when Derek told you you gotta cut this safety net, that was more so your proximity to the music industry, where it was like you felt comfortable enough to be close but not completely in. So he fires you, you go out, you make this project, but you get a full-time job so you can finance the project, finance your life. You're working, kind of figuring it out. But now you know you really got to get back full-time on the music side because the plan was to be in music regardless.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of more nuanced because the job with Derek was like, yeah, it was like, it was a safe job, and it was like, it was in place of making music. The
Right.
job that I just called a full time job was, um, it was not a traditional job. It was leading songwriting workshops and spoken word poetry workshops in Metro Nashville public schools, through Southern Word, which is a youth organization. So the reason it was different is because it literally um, fed my music career because
Mm.
every day I'm leading writing workshops on metaphor, simile, rhyme scheme, song structure, and I have to have examples for those things. So I could choose other people's I could choose another artist's um, work as examples, but I was just writing stuff and then using it. So it was like I was even at that time I was literally making money to write music and then break it down. You know what
You
I
made it
mean?
work
So
for yourself.
yeah, so I mean, I say a full time job to say that like um sometimes like you have to you have to have some money to make this thing work. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? Like, um, but that clearly wasn't a job that was like, okay, this is um like this is in place of um like being a solo artist. It was like directly related to it or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, back to the label thing. Yeah, they weren't good. They weren't good ones. And then like, so we just like we're just gonna keep going, you know. Literally immediately started working on new singles. Um, and Marty from Social Club called me and was like, "Bro, I know the labels are like hitting you up. What has Capital CMG offered you?" And I was like, "I haven't got anything from Capital." He was like, "What?" And this was, they were signed to Capital at the time. They still are, but they were actually they had just been signed. And he was like, "I'm gonna send it to the A&R." So he sent Treetops, my single from Canopy, to um, the head A&R at Capital, and he texted me and was like, "I'm gonna send it to him." And literally 15 minutes later, the A&R called me and was like, "Let's go get that." That was very crazy because I was like, okay, like people say they're gonna send stuff, and you're like, all right. Took me out to coffee or whatever. So long story short, Capital CMG, their deal was much more respectful of my like trajectory than the other labels. It was not like it was not a it was not one of those like predatory new artist deals.
Oh, congrats
Obviously,
to you.
yeah. Obviously, in the end I was still like, no, I didn't, and we can talk about that. I didn't like where it went, but the genesis of the deal was definitely not predatory new artists, and that's why I didn't. I mean, that's why um, out of everybody, I went with them to try it out.
Yeah.
Um,
So, I feel like we have a good context for where you are. You went to Capital. If you could just really quickly tell people why it hit a demise, and then we're just gonna jump into a few like highlights of like why you feel like it's way more beneficial to be an independent artist than and this is not we're not anti-label. I'm not a label hater. I just haven't found a reason to love one yet. So that's where I sit. But I support independent labels. So I just want you guys to know this isn't me like bashing labels, and Dill is not going to be bashing labels, but you went to Capital, you figured out that it wasn't for you, and now you're independent and thriving. And I want to give people about 10 minutes to ask you questions. So let's spend like 7 or 8 minutes just kind of breaking down what ended up making you leave and what do you feel like are the benefits of staying independent? What are some of the things aside from being able to afford your own home and building a
yeah.
house that would not have honestly been as affordable if you were on a label? Because you've talked about how you had to start
Oh,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like you had to start
yeah.
figuring it out while you were signed. And a lot of people don't know that. Like when my artists have been signed, they've always made less money than when they've been independent. So go for it. Like just
Yeah.
give some thoughts about the label situation.
Right. So yeah, when I signed a Capital, another reason that I signed with Capital was the people. Like I wanted to meet the people that I would be working with on a day-to-day basis. I'll keep this short, but usually labels will roll out the red carpet for you and they're going to show you the corner offices. They're going to show you like the CEO and the president, and you know, somebody's going to pick you up in a crazy car. They're going to take you to they literally took me to like this underground, and when I say underground, I mean it was underneath the earth's crust, um, party with all these artists in it. And in Nashville, I didn't even know this was a real place. Like it was like, yeah, and like so they're gonna do that. But I was like, cool. So let me meet like the creative department, and let me meet like my specific A&R assistant, and like all these things. And again, I had a lot of mentors in my corner just from the past part of my career. And I met all of them, and I really liked those people. And to this day, I still say they had real high integrity. It's just that honestly, they overpromised and underdelivered. So it's like if they pulled off the things that they said, And the contract was written in a way. I had my own, of course, shouldn't even have to say it, but you got to have your own lawyer that's not in that system at all. I used um, a professor from MTSU, so like I really knew him, Lauren Mulrain. He MTSU pulls in a lot of like people who are still practicing in their field. So entertainment lawyer in Nashville. But he was the head of the department of the music industry department when I was at MTSU. So I'm like, nah, we're going in here with somebody completely outside of y'all system. Contract was written in such a way that I was very protected. Kind of if there wasn't a lot of like ways it could go catastrophic. The biggest thing was that I signed for 60 masters, which just means 60 songs. That was the one thing that I kind of had to give them because I was like protecting myself at all these different runs. And they were like, man, if we give you all these protections, we got to have 60 masters, which would be like 5 albums, but I could release them however I wanted to. But 13 masters in, I was like, just what you said, all my metrics were up. I had more streams, more ticket sales, more people listening, literally more social media followers, like any metric you could use, except how much money I was making. I was making considerably less than when I was independent and put out a record that sold and streamed way less than the one on the label. And that wasn't working for me. Some people that would be working, they're like, well, my platform's growing. Like, that's what I get it. There's different trade-offs. And it can be valid, especially if you got a long-term vision of like, nah, I really need this platform to get to a fever pitch. And then I'm gonna do this, and this to monetize it. But I was like, man, I think I need to own all this stuff. So had to have a couple meetings and a couple uncomfortable conversations, involve my manager in it and all that. I also need to have a manager. If you're at a label, you need a manager. If you're independent, you don't necessarily need a manager. I would argue that there's a lot of times you don't. If you're at a label, you need a manager who is outside of their system. Had those meetings, was able to get out of the contract after 13 masters, 13 out of 16. With no strings attached. So that's why I say they have really high integrity, because they just, there's a lot of horror stories with labels, but essentially they were like, you're unhappy. We don't want to have unhappy artists just sitting on our labels, which a lot of labels do and don't care about that. So we're just going to release you, no strings attached. So that was that. But yeah, it comes down to what you were saying, which is I was making so much less off of my artistry than when I was independent that I was like, do I need to like start doing the workshops again? Do I need to get a job again? Like, do I need to, that's when I got on Patreon, and I had to fight. That was actually a low-key a bigger fight than leaving. Was I had to fight the label on whether I could do a Patreon or not, which is crazy because
Wow, because they wanted to own that too?
they wanted to own that, and they also didn't like
Direct
it,
access.
they didn't like the optics of it is the thing. They kind of wanted to own it, but that
Mm.
wasn't the biggest thing. The biggest thing was they didn't want one of their artists on Patreon because it looks like, dang, that's a capital CMG artist and they need to have a Patreon. And I'm like, yeah, y'all don't want it to look
Pay
like
me
what it
more.
is. I'm like, y'all talking about optics. They're like, what about the optics? I'm like, y'all don't want it to look like exactly what it is. That's the problem.
Yeah,
Like
facts.
you're talking about people are gonna, like, their thing was like people are gonna think like, dang, like capital CMG artists need a Patreon, and I'm like, yeah, right. They're gonna think that because that's the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so
When we were on Def Jam, our A&R told Caleb, he was like, I really need you to come to this next party looking like $1,000,000. And I'm like, y'all aren't paying us $1,000,000. He's gonna show up as homie down the block. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what do you mean he bought a new pair of shoes? But what are you talking about? Like, you haven't even really y'all given us half our bread. Like, what are we talking about right now? You know?
yeah, it's really crazy, but yeah. So got off that and like, um, got off, and immediately started making music and actually released a song like 3 weeks after I left the label.
Okay,
Because
let
at
me
that point,
comment on this
yeah,
because this was the finesse, y'all. Okay, so I didn't know Dill very well. I wasn't super familiar with the scene when he signed with the label when all of that came out, but I heard his first label debut. No disrespect, you know how I feel about it. It was nothing to call home about. I'm like, okay, this is everybody's patron saint of this scene. That's cool. It looks cool, but okay, right? So, but I had met you maybe once or twice before. I'm like, yeah, he's a cool dude. So he gets off the label and like drops a video. Nobody knows he's off the label, right? He drops this fire ass video, like it's fire and a killer song. So it looks like the timing and everything looks like his follow up from his debut single, right? And he just keeps dropping songs and videos that look that way. So everybody's like, oh, Capital is leveling up. Dill is about to do this thing. And I remember Dill was in Atlanta. I think you were shooting a video or something. And you were
probably, yeah,
staying you stand with the Hughes, and so I'm like, oh, okay, like it looks like Capital kind of got hip to what you're trying to do. So what's up with that? And you were like, nah, I left. I was like, when? And then you told me it
yeah,
was what was it over here, right? That was the
yeah.
first
It was,
one?
yeah, it was like 9 months or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you
whenever
were
that
like
song go.
over here, but it was like a month or two after over here had dropped. I think you had dropped a second or third follow-up. So I'm like,
Yeah,
yo, you played this system because everybody who was a fan, that's a lot of times artists, it's noticeable when they leave a label because all of the energy, the promo, all of that leaves.
mm-hmm.
You said, okay, no,
Yeah,
this is the level that my fans have now come to expect. I'm going to deliver at that level. You're not going to see any drop off. And that's what made me a fan. And then we
yeah,
started working together, I guess like a couple months even after that conversation. But I was like,
mm-hmm.
okay, he has an understanding of the landscape. So that's something I just want to let y'all know. This man was a genius with the way that he left the label. It was several months later that he announced he had gone, but he had been dropping music and each song continually went up from there. So shout out to you
Yeah,
for that. That was a genius move.
yeah. No, we like, yeah. I had a lot of just internal conversations, meaning just me and my wife and like the homies. But um, we were like, it's about controlling the narrative at this point. So it's like, you know, after leaving the label, we're not doing an announcement. We're not doing anything except putting out quality music and videos. We can talk about this later, but I think so many people are like they either announce that they're off the label or they get off the label and then like the clock resets to them. So they're like, okay, I just got off the label. Now I got like a whole year, a whole album cycle. I'm gonna recreate myself. And it's like, nah, like while we were having the discussions about me leaving, I'm stocking up because that moment can make or break it. Like you said, a lot of times when people get off labels, everything kind of
It
goes
looks
down
homemade
and
again.
you feel the energy. I don't want to name any like artists, but I'm just thinking of them in my head. It happens like time after time. And it was like, not only are we gonna continue the quality, but I was saying to myself, I wanted out of this deal because I said that they were clipping my wings and they were stifling my creativity. So I was, in a way, I was trying to prove to myself, you said
Yeah.
that and you got out. So like,
Yeah.
is that true or not? So it was like, let's double up. Let's double up on the quality. Let's double up on all that. You know what I'm saying? So like, we put those out. And yeah, just like you said, I think a lot of people felt like what you said, that it was a level up, whatever. Regardless, this stuff like streams and sells, and I mean, my career is like quadrupled since I left the
Yeah.
label.
Yeah.
So
Every video has gone up. And this is like, I take a lot of pride in this too, like because your wins are my wins now. But it's like every video has
most
gone
deaf.
up. Even like the team, Dill did something that was super intelligent. He kept working with the same people. He brought his boys into it. And so it's like, even, yeah, like y'all see I Am Pharaoh over here on the side. That's Dill's right hand man for photography. Dude is like making him look like $1 million. Like when you have friends who believe in the cause and people who are like, okay, when you're a quality person, you attract other quality people. If you give them equity in what you're building, now those quality people are just as incentivized to build with you. And so that's what you built, an economy of creatives around you. That's the same thing that you did with Indie Tribe. And so because of building in that way, you were able to leave a label system as big as Capital, transition to being completely independent. And now you are not only an independent artist, but you're about to transition your wife into working full time into the business. My team is somebody who's on hire from you. So, like, you get label services and management and brand management from the Build Your Own Dreams team. And this is stuff that you have business managers, you have a lawyer. Like, this isn't just like just you at your house now. You have a
Right.
bigger team now than you did even when you were at the label, because you've built it
Yeah.
yourself and you've invested in it. So now you have people, again, that you can call, that can pull up on you, but also can create this level of product. And so I want to encourage independent artists. It's not going to be as quick as, oh, I'm just going to do this on my own and everything's going to be great. But Dill started that way. Solo dolo, independent dude, kept growing his network in Nashville, kept growing his friend group, kept growing his understanding of the industry. And for me, that's what made him so attractive and easy to work with, because a lot of times artists come with a pipe dream, like, I'm super talented. Dill will never lead with the fact that he's talented. Like, that's cool, but everybody's talented. Dill's
Mm-hmm.
leading with
So
stats
much.
and facts and an understanding and a unique worldview and a niche. And even like when it comes to the sound that he's cultivating, we're very big on like identifying his brand. And so for artists, I want to encourage y'all, the independent grind isn't easy, but it's no harder than being on a label, in my opinion. Again, like,
Right.
same with when we left Def Jam, Caleb's first drop on Build Your Own Dreams, we were getting write-ups from like everywhere, and everybody was like, Def Jam's newest signee. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I had to go back to Lyrical Lemonade. I had to go back to Ear Milk. I had to go back to a bunch of people like, yo, no, 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 this is independent. He dropped this under us. Like, because we kept it going in a way that it looked equivalent to a major
Mm.
label thing. And so I just want to encourage other artists, you can do it. It's not going to be easy, but you have to invest in yourself and really think on that. So we've got about 7 or 8 minutes. I want to give some people time to ask questions. We've kept a lot of people on. Most people don't stay on this long. So shout out to you, Dill. People are tuning in and interested. Somebody asked a really interesting question earlier. Um, he basically said, I'm trying to find it, but he asked, what are the difference between honing in on the intangibles versus the tangibles when you're talking about like making music and making money? You had said something about like the strength of your brand has been consistent, in that you were really particular about that when you took the photos and the video and you wanted it
Mm.
to come over, so that's when he asked the question. It was a while ago. But what do you feel like, how do you carve out the tangibles slash intangibles that you sell as an artist, and what do you feel like is the most important?
So that's kind of a big question, but for brand, what I think would help the most for me to say, like with for a brand, when you're trying to figure out your brand, like the overall umbrella of your brand that's going to decide how I take pictures, how I choose production, how I do social media, all of that. You need to think about the thing that makes you unique and makes you you. That might sound cliche. Let me put some more teeth to it. The things that you got made fun of for in high school and middle school, the things that people picked on you for, the things that maybe people praise you for, it's always the things people picked on you for. Sometimes it might be stuff people praise you for. That stuff that makes you different, that's what you need to hone in on as your brand. At this point in time, hip hop is so big, so well respected, and the world's biggest genre. Um, being cool is not going to do it. Being
And what is
cool and
cool?
yeah, right. But I'm saying, like, there was a time earlier in hip hop where it was like, who's the coolest? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That was probably the '80s. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, who's the coolest dude? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not gonna work. And I see so many people just, okay, I got the most expensive stuff. I got the cool. Nobody cares. It's way too many talented people. It's way too many people who rap. What were you made fun of for in middle school? You know what I'm saying? That might get you somewhere.
Facts.
like, so,
Well, okay, what was that thing for you? Just to give some context, what was the thing that people consistently made fun of you for?
yeah, I'll keep it really short, but I was always the new kid. I was always one of very few black kids in a rural area. You know what I'm saying? And so there was always this tension of like having very like Afrocentric educated parents, but living in a rural area and being black and being proud in a rural area. Um, and since I grew up loving the good things about uh like country culture, rural culture. I mean, you see, I got the, you know what I'm saying? Like, loving this stuff. I grew up going to horse shows. You know what I'm saying? Like, I grew up doing these things. Baling hay and putting roofs on barns. You know what I'm saying? Like, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so I experienced a lot of racism. I experienced a lot of bullying from I experienced, I got the whole Oreo thing, which, like, and then I got the racism thing. And so I flipped those into, I mean, people still know me as Young Rural. You know what I'm saying? We're about to do something else. I'm not gonna say it on here, but I carry that with, Sticks, one of my biggest songs, Parabolic. Parabolic is the story that I just told you, except in a song. My biggest things are from stuff that I was made fun of or had to go through coming up, and that's way more interesting than if I just was like, yo, I got the Off-White song, you know what I'm saying? Like that, even that's a dated reference now, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Well,
that's
so
not me. That's
what do
not
you call your genre or your brand now? Now, and so hearing what you got made fun of, what do you call it now? Your brand of artistry.
uh oh shoot, dang.
I know. I was trying to think of it. I think it's
I
sub
need to, I got
rule.
it's it's sub, I got it. It's sub rural street culture.
Okay, I'm
Sub
gonna
rural
type that
street
in the
culture.
chat box so y'all can see it. And then when y'all go
Sub
look up
rural street culture.
Dill, y'all are gonna be like, this makes sense. Sub rule street culture.
Yep, sub rural street culture. That is exactly what. Yeah, that story is gonna be told. We gonna tell that story, but that is exactly what I grew up in.
Yep,
So
yep. That's super dope. I got made fun of. I mean, I was always cool in school, and this is not like a flex, but people like me. I've always been likable. My friends would always still get on me though about they're like, you I got voted most likely to know the most random facts, right? And is very true. You know what I'm saying? I'm still like that. I just know a ton of random shit and I just be like, oh yeah, this and this and this. But
that's
I've
true.
always been somebody who seeks knowledge and understanding and hyper niche things. So my friends called it random and now it's my win because that's what all the random things that people don't chase after in the music
Yep.
industry is the direction that I run in. And that's where I see all of my wins. So I'm 100% backing that. Okay, so I have another fascinating question for you because
Okay.
fascinating because I know what's going on in your business world, but this
Okay.
person, oh, that's a great alley oop. Thank you so much. See, this is what happens when you have your team in the chat. Um, what are your thoughts on the NFT space?
The
I just saw who
NFT
the
space.
question came from. That's what I
Yeah,
was like, oh, this is interesting. Okay, bet.
man. So it's so much is being said about it right now. I don't think anybody has a full grasp on it because it's just like when the internet started. Like, they didn't know what it was going to become. You know what I mean? They call it the metaverse, and it is functioning like a universe. You know what I
Shout
mean?
out to
So
Facebook.
yeah, so I'm still on the learning end of it, but I want to jump into it because there's just so many like opportunities with it. I want to do something um, that has not been done a lot in the space. There's a lot of like visual art in the space, a ton of visual art. Um, uh, and then of course like they're trying to integrate like virtual reality experiences, social like media type experiences and everything in there. Um, but I don't see a lot of um, moving into the space of music. Some people have done like NFT adjacent drops. Um, or stuff, but usually it's still focused on the visual. Um, and I don't want to give too much away, but we're working on something that is like unique in the space that we wanna jump into. I gotta be
Anybody in
careful.
the
I'm like,
chat
dang,
in the
people gonna
NFT space? Anybody in the chat into NFTs? I just want to see anybody here who's into crypto or NFTs. Anybody got some Ethereum they're trying to just send me for free?
for
Um,
free.
I'll give
For
no.
free.
Look, I'll give you an hour of my time, music business advice. You give me as much of Ethereum as you'd like to, and I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we have one more question. Nobody
Okay.
else is asking questions. Everybody seems to really be into you though, because again, we're not dropping off. The one question I have from FSU. Okay, I don't know what that is. I hope it's not Matt. Um, what was no he, FSU wouldn't be him. FAMU would be him. What was the idea behind the song Parabolic? I guess you got into it a little bit, and you said that
Mm.
you're describing it. So they're kind of asking what was the context of that.
Grew up in the woods 30 miles from the nearest college. Saw a pair of rebel flags. I'm not being parabolic. Parent teacher conference. They weren't okay with my swag. Wore the Malcolm X t-shirt with the AK on the back. So that's what I was just talking about. Like taking your actual experiences and the hardships or what people make fun of you for and making that your brand, because that's going to be the most, in my opinion, a lot of times that's the most interesting thing about you, right? So um yeah, if you listen to like the rest of the song of Parabolic and you watch the video too, because the video helps too, just with imagery. But yeah, so parabolic has two meanings. One is like shaped like a parabola, but the other one is relating to parables, which is the definition that I was using. So grew up in the woods 30 miles from the nearest college, saw a pair of rebel flags. I'm not being parabolic. I'm not telling you a parable. This isn't a metaphor. This is my real life. You know what I'm saying? So like I really grew up where I say I grew up, I really grew up like out in the woods essentially. You know what I mean? Like very rural community, 300 people, 30 miles from the nearest college. Um saw a pair of rebel flags. I'm not being parabolic. I mean, people were just flying them things. You know what I mean? Like, and wearing them things and threatening my life with ha- while having the shirts on and the belts on and bringing rifles to school and getting suspended because that I had a death threat out on me and dude had a rifle in his truck. He said it was for hunting, but you just threatened my life. You know what I'm saying? The day before, so. Um, yeah, so parabolic was like I wanted like a everybody's like, oh, I'm keeping it real, whatever. I was like, but what's a way to say like, no, this is not a lesson or anything. This is just what happened. Because also a lot of people expect a lesson from me. So it was like, how do I say this is true? And I'm not trying to teach anything right here. Like I'm not being parabolic. This is what happened. Went to at the parent teacher conference, like they're calling my parents to the school like we have to have a meeting because your son is wearing this Malcolm X shirt where he's
As
holding a
if your mother
rifle.
didn't purchase it for you and you didn't
You
leave
feel
from her house. It is
you feel
clear
me?
y'all don't understand the way that Black culture works because moms are involved in everything.
You know what I'm saying? Like so like I'm wearing that shirt in defiance to everybody's wearing Dixie Outfitter shirts, which people probably don't even know what that is, but those are the shirts that have like the rebel flags and all different types of sayings and stuff on them. And they were wearing that. We had a dress code. They're wearing that. They're wearing an in dress code. So, it's tucked in, whatever. And you have to have a belt. Well, their belt has a rebel flag on. So I'm like, cool. All right. So I'm coming to school with the Malcolm X looking out of the window with the rifle, me and the homies, it's like 15 black kids there. We're coming in with Africa chains, with the Malcolm X shirts, you know what I'm saying, with Nat Turner shirts. That one was crazy. But and we're coming in there like, you know, if they can wear this in dress code, then we're gonna wear this. Because you're saying that they're not sending a message to us. You're saying this is heritage, not hate, and you're cool with them wearing it. Let's see if y'all really are gonna keep that same energy when we, and they didn't. Of course, when we wear it, we're sending a message and we're being combative and all that. It's like, what happened? Why is this not heritage, not hate? Why is this not, you know what I'm saying? So like, really, parent teacher conference, they weren't okay with my swag. Wore the Malcolm X t-shirt with the AK on the back. So like, yeah. But then the song also talks about like being a rare, like, black boy raised in the rural South who also is a believer. You know what I'm saying? So like, all of those things come into that song. It's a very autobiographical song.
It's very dope. I wish I had more time to talk to you about stuff. It's not like I don't talk to you regularly, but but I just always love like picking, like, I hate that term, but getting into your brain and
Yeah, you do
understanding
hate that
things.
term.
Yeah, it just and then
I
people
stopped
ask me,
saying that because of you. I stopped
yeah,
saying
but
that.
people ask me all the time that too, and I'm like, no, like, you're either friends with me or you're gonna spend time to get that to happen. Do you know what I'm saying? Or you have
Yeah,
something that's interesting to me. Not that I'm all about money, but
yeah.
yeah. So y'all, I'm just gonna give one more for those who got on late. This is No Big Deal. He is one of my favorite independent artists currently. I'm biased because I work with him, but I work with him because I like him. Like, I feel like he's one of those that I was like, dang, we got to figure this out. I managed him for a little while. We took a break from that because I was trying to step back from day-to-day management. And now he's one of the artists that I work with on the booking end and also on the brand management end. He's truly a genius when it comes to the business. So it makes being on the business side so much easier. So we just developed a really great relationship, but he is truly, truly independent in mind, spirit, and body. He's all about teaching it to people, all about expressing it in his life. So if you are creative, even if you're not a rapper and you're looking to understand the landscape of music, the landscape of business, follow this dude. It's at No Big Deal. I'm gonna drop his at. It's his name. Y'all see it. He has it with the period. Just put an at in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's who he is. He is a rapper from Middle Tennessee. Has lived a lot of life. Very fascinating individual. Go follow him. Watch what he does. Again, I'm Aaron Knight. I'm the newest member of the MEC. You guys
Mm.
can follow us, and we're dropping all sorts of tidbits to educate artists and creatives every week on the Music Entrepreneurs podcast. Also, the MEC page. It's at Music Entrepreneurs Club. Lots of great gems. We have a ton of incredible people. Dill does not have a Twitch yet, but maybe
I'm
eventually.
tripping. I'm tripping.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe eventually. Do you think we'll continue to see Indie Tribe grow? Dill, go ahead and answer that because I feel like these are some of your fans in the comments.
Grow is grow is subjective. I don't know if they're talking about members or what. It's definitely gonna grow. Like Indie Tribe, look, that was just the beginning as far as what Indie Tribe is gonna do. I'm very, very excited about Indie Tribe. As far as members, I'm just letting the spirit lead on that. And I don't mean that as a cop out. I mean that I, as you can tell from this conversation, I don't just make decisions for optics or for money. You know what I'm saying? Or just be like you said, talent is like, it's good. It's a good start, but it's a start. So I'm not. We're not just gonna add people to Indie Tribe because of talent or because of optics or because of money. So that's a short answer, but um, it will feel like if we add more members, it'll feel like how each member feels right now. I feel like every member right now just it makes perfect sense. It fits perfectly, and that's what it'll be if we grow numerically. But as far as music, events, special like new ideas and innovation and providing the culture with um providing the culture with these cool events and like education and all of that. Yes, Indie Tribe is just starting right now.
Okay, last question because I'm selfish. Somebody says Holy Smoke Fest coming back next summer.
Oh yes, Holy Smoke is annual until the Lord says differently. So um we're trying to do that every year, trying to do it bigger every year, trying to provide more to the culture every year through Holy Smoke. Um, but yeah, we've already started on next year. I mean, we
For
started
those of
on
you who
next
don't
year.
know, Holy Smoke is Indie Tribe slash Dill's festival. They have their own artist led festival. So it was in Atlanta this year. Lots of people came from all over the US and Canada. It's going to be even bigger next year, Lord willing. Because,
Yo,
yeah,
Canada really was in there. Canada
yeah, it's
was like,
crazy.
Canada was really in that joint. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, dope. Dill, let the people know where they can find you one more time. Anything that you want to plug yourself. I don't want to just plug you. Anything that you want to tell the people, closing words.
All right, so everywhere it's just no big deal. You know what I'm saying? At no big deal on all socials. You can type no big deal into the search bar on Google because I own no big deal trademark. We got it. So you can anywhere.
Say that.
You know what I'm saying? And let's leave them with an exclusive. I always like doing exclusive in these like interviews and stuff. But um listen, man, I'm at 99.9 thousand followers on IG. 99.9 thousand. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like something might happen. I don't know. It's 99.9 thousand. What could happen if that changed? You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
I
That's all I'm
love
gonna
it.
say.
We could go for another hour, dropping exclusives into next year, but that's a great way to end.
That's
Bill,
true.
thank you so much for joining. As you see in the comments, people really love today's session. So I'm super grateful for you. Very excited. Like the man says, he owns No Big Deal. So go ahead, follow him everywhere. Google him, check out his videos, check out his Instagram. This man is a Reebok partner. So if you see a bunch of him rocking Reeboks, that's because he has a deal with Reebok. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Rappers
Yeah,
with their
that
own
is
shoe
crazy.
deals, that's wild. You know what I'm saying? So check this man out. He's so talented, but talent is just where he starts. I'm super Reebok
You
boys.
got
There you go. Oh, Dill, let me
you
show
got the
you this thing.
Reebok joint. You know what
You
I'm
know, I'm
saying?
getting like you. Check it, check it.
You know what I mean? The Iversons. Oh yeah, that's right. You got the you I don't even have those. I don't even know what those
Yo,
are.
okay, that's a whole nother story, but
SNU
learning
stuff I don't even
learning
have.
about brand partnerships, like working with you, it's teaching me how to go after them for myself. We got a lot coming down the pipeline, but just know,
Yeah.
yeah. Shout out to Reebok. We're very grateful for them.
Thanks.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Go ahead and follow No Big Deal. Follow me, the Aaron Effect. Follow the MEC. If you want to be part of the MEC, we'll text you every week whenever we go live. The phone number is 844. You can see it on the screen, 206-7800. If you want to text every time we go live, I'm every first Monday of the month, but we go live every Monday and Thursday. So if you guys want to learn, hop on. And then we release a new podcast every Monday. And this week's podcast was great. Go look up the Music Entrepreneurs Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Yeah, this is dope. Thanks, Dill. I'm sure I'll be talking to you in about 30 seconds. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Oh, I guess I
I
gotta
don't
end the
know.
podcast.